Now we'll try this again with actual sound. So we had a setting, Google SSO setting, which translates to me as you have to have a certain authentication to get in. So we apologize for that. We're need a couple more minutes to set our interpreters up, get everybody in the room and access. Apologize for any frustrations as we work through some of these new features and make sure that you can have access. So it'll be just a few more minutes and then we'll get started. Thank you. Okay, folks, just a couple more minutes more. We're giving some teachers a chance to get in. We have our beautiful interpreter interpreting today. Always wonder if you can smile and interpret at the same time. I guess you can. So anyway, thank you for being here to interpret for us. I think we also are working on getting our Spanish interpreter here, or we may have to just go forward. Again, apologize for technical difficulties. I'm going to go ahead and start. It's 4:09. I'm going to go ahead and start here at let's say 4:12. So in 2 minutes, we'll go ahead and get started. That gives a chance for a couple of people to get on who are having difficulties and also to move forward. Thank you for your patience, and 2 minutes from now, we'll start.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you for being here, everybody. We are going to start with a brief PTA minutes, where we have to approve last week's minutes. It's not a full-blown PTA meeting. We didn't sneak you into a PTA meeting as it may look. Ms. Merchant is going to help us through that. We're going to toggle between a couple things, so give us a little grace as we're learning all these new features, and we appreciate that. Ms. Merchant, if you'll go ahead and come on, I'm going to try to attempt to give you the sharing screen access. The difficulty there is this is the first time I've done this, so I'm not sure how share screen works with having an online visible interpreter. So you okay? Okay, we can do it without that, because I'm going to post our slides in the chat for the community. I know I didn't prepare you to do that, so if you can talk through your portion of it, I will give the rest to the folks in the audience, and they can follow along so that our interpreters also have access to people who may need them. So Ms. Merchant is our PTA president, and she's here today also to ask questions and answer questions about site-based things, which really is, I have a presentation we're going to talk through today regarding what schools looks like. Any questions you may have, the Q&A feature is going to be open. We're going to talk about what's been going on since school opened and what the future may look like under the three things that we talked about, which are inclusivity, instructional adjustments, and safety. We're going to talk about all the things we've been doing that. It's quite a bit, and we want to inform you, even as large as our partnership with Region 13 and then some of the pilots that we're doing here just at 4 Points, as well as answer any questions that you may have out there. So before I post our presentation, I'm going to turn over to Ms. Merchant so she can handle a few of the PTA duties. Then we will get started. Ms. Merchant, thank you for being here, and thank you everybody for your patience. What you didn't see is my off-screen breakdown going, really? This all has to break down now? So I did have that moment, but we're back, and thank you for that. Ms. Merchant, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. I really appreciate that. I'm going to call a brief, very, very brief PTA meeting to order at 4:14 with quorum present. Because we cannot share screen, this is the time I usually share the meeting minutes and our the financial reports, but I will go ahead and post those on our website, and we'll seek approval for those items later. We're going to table the general meeting minutes right now. Those were from our meeting in October. If you attended, I really appreciate it. The treasurer's report, I'm going to just run through real fast. We have to go through and state our beginning balance, our income, and our total expenses, and then our ending cash balance. So our beginning balance as of October 6, 2020 was $13,422.93. We had a total income, which included our annual fund, care closet, some corporate sponsorship, membership, and staff appreciation funds. Our income since 10/6/2020 was $2,951.50. We had two expenses, one for our admin and general fund, and the other one for our staff morale, team building, and professional development, where we bought the string sets for the students to use on Culture Day. The total expenses were $438.84. Our ending balance as of November 13th, 2020 was $15,935.59. Off budget, we have to pay national and state dues for each of our members. That totaled $55 as our ending balance. So our ending cash checkbook balance on November 13th, 2020 was $16,179.59. So $16,179.59. I will also post our budget on our website, so you may look at it there. If there's no questions, which I don't believe there will be, about our financial treasurer's report, we can go ahead and file those. I wanted to take a brief moment here just to give you updates as to different things that are going on in the PTA. Presently, we are entered into the National PTA School of Excellence program. We are currently accepting responses to our survey, which is actually also posted on our PTA website. We appreciate all the feedback that we have received so far. This survey is open until November 15th, so please be sure to visit that. Our 4 Points Middle School Care Closet has requested items for our Thanksgiving meals and for our 4 Points Middle School families. We have had an overwhelming response to it, so I can't thank our community and our families for all the responses and the signups for that. That has been posted out also via our Facebook page, so you may be able to see it there. Our staff appreciation events are coming up. We're constantly seeking teacher shout outs via that Google form. We have our staff and teacher wish list posted now to our 4 Points Middle School PTA website, so please be sure to check that out. We are now in the process of asking for items for stocking the lounge and our Thanksgiving treats. So that will be coming out very shortly in our PTA newsletter, and it will also be posted on our website. I need to make the announcement that we do have one open position on our board, which is for the VP of fundraising. If you are interested in that position, please reach out to me. My email address is president@fpmspta@gmail.com. The committee openings are our 2022 school supplies. That's a mouthful, I'm sorry. And finally, we are in the process of purchasing our online tech tool. We should be making a purchase here very soon, so we wanted to say thank you for those donations. Very excited about that. It is now 4:18, and I'm going to adjourn our meeting and leave this back to Steve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to post the things we're going to talk about. It's really just bullet points. I wasn't originally planning to do this, but in an effort to make sure everybody has access, I want to hold on sharing screen until I figure out how to share screen and have our interpreter on the screen. So I'm going to post it now. And there we go. And I think that should give you access. And if it's not necessary that you open that, that's just really just a flow of what we're going to talk about today. And you'll be able to see some of our notes in there, which is fine as we prepare this, because this is really for you to kind of give you an update of how things are going and the things we're doing here at 4 Points. So with that being said, I'll lead off with our mission is to create engaging learning experiences by empowering the school community to develop passionate learners and good humans. We talked about that last year as our lens for everything we do. And then this year, of course, during that time, we're developing certain things in new directions. COVID hit, and we then had to sort of pare down what exactly we wanted to be focused on. And it was three things, which instructional adjustments, inclusivity, and safety. If you're following along, I am now starting on slide 3, which is a little bit of what are we doing as far as instructional adjustments. Please feel free, the Q&A function is open. If along the way you have questions, we'll try to answer them live as well as type answers to them too. And if we can't get you answers, then we will try to get them to you at another time. So some of the instructional adjustments that we wanted to pinpoint is right now, currently middle school is running what is being called the hybrid model. That is different than the elementary school. Secondary is functioning differently. That means that you're running simultaneous online and in-person class, which essentially means there's a camera in the classroom recording the teacher or at the same time as they are teaching. We have found that to be a challenge, but we are doing our very best to do what we can in all various, whether it's in the core classrooms, electives, band, all the things that we do here, we are running to the best of our ability, that hybrid model. And I'm going to open up for teachers to give feedback on that hybrid model in a minute. But I also wanted you to know that we have piloted at 4 Points, and this is a 4 Points only pilot, one classroom where teachers are teaming to do something different. We want to be a growth and development school, which means you have to experiment and you have to be willing to fail, as you saw earlier today. In order to communicate and do things differently and push the envelope, you've got to be willing to try new things. And so I have two teachers who are, I came to asking them to try a pilot, which essentially is this, doing what the elementaries are doing in a little bit different way. So I have a 6th grade science has paired together to have one teacher be 100% virtual and one teacher to be 100% online. This is not a district initiative. This is your 4 Points Middle School trying to respond to challenges and do pilots. So if we do go to something like that, we can be already ahead of the game. And so I wanted to make it clear that that is just something we're experiencing at 4 Points. If you were in that class, you were notified. We made sure that you, the community, were okay with trying this different model, because what we were discovering in the hybrid model is that attention was hard to give to two starkly different academic landscapes, online and in person. So we wanted to see what we could do under the current landscape to still do that in a small chunk in a pilot. So that's what we're talking about in terms of hybrid and pilot. I think it's appropriate now because one of those, there are several folks in here doing the hybrid, and there's also someone in here that can tell a little bit about the pilot, just specifically from the teacher. So if anybody's comfortable, if you could unmute and talk a little bit about your experience of the hybrid model, and I'll just be specific. Whitney Williams and Joanna McNulty are the teachers that are doing 6th grade science. They said, hey, we'll give it a shot. It's a little, scary because we're just not getting used to this, but we see it and we're willing to do it. We're willing to try it. And again, let me just specify this, maybe it's very clear. This is a 4 Points pilot in which I saw the need to try it, and I had the folks willing to do it. So Whitney, I'll let you kind of talk a little bit about what the hybrid is, what the pilot is, and Kevin certainly join in, and then we've got other teachers and band as well. You guys feel free to talk a little bit about what the teaching experience has been like in the hybrid, and this is our community, these are our people. So honesty is appreciated. There's no need to, it's just to be real. Feel free and don't be shy. I'll turn it over to you guys now.
Yeah, and let me apologize ahead of time because my dogs are freaking out why I haven't taken them on a walk yet, and I'm home. So if they are noisy, I apologize. But yes, we last week, so specifically last Wednesday, 6th grade science, we started with splitting up virtual and in-person kids. I have had the in-person kids now since last Wednesday, and Miss McNulty or Mrs. Smith has had the virtual kids. And starting on this coming Monday, we're going to switch. A couple things about that. We really wanted to focus on one group of kids at the time, being virtual versus in person, because we were finding that we were being stretched very thin and we weren't able to give our full attention to one population. So that was where our main priority was, just being able to focus more on the kids. But we also went with the flipping every 2 weeks so that we could build the rapport with the students and really get to build those relationships and know the kids a little bit more, both for me while in person and Miss McNulty while she's virtual. And then vice versa, when I start doing virtual next week, I'll have that time to really get to know the kids that are virtual that I haven't had this year so far. I will say so far it's worked out really great for both Miss McNulty and myself. There are challenges. There are always pros and cons to everything, but for the most part, this has really taken a lot of stress off of our plate that we were dealing with the hybrid model. And it's been great.
What I'll also say on that before I turn it over to Kevin is I'm meeting weekly with, well, actually we're gonna do 2 weeks after this next, to sort of monitor and ask questions. And Whitney is, and Hannah, I really should say, she goes by Hannah. sorry, Hannah, you're not here, but if you heard me, I did remember this time. They're experimenting, and they're kind of telling me what they're learning, so we can look at this in a responsible, incremental implementation. Now, we couldn't do a school-wide thing like this without district approval. That would sort of be counterintuitive to district direction. But we wanted to try a pilot to embrace these possibilities so that we had data and instructional real meat to say, hey, this is what we're seeing. We would like to move further with this. So I've not introduced it to other teams, but the future would be if this continues to go well and parents continue to get the feedback after we send out a form to see how they're feeling about this pilot, then it would be getting permission to then spread it to maybe somebody else. And it may be that we're not able to do that for reasons above the campus level. I wouldn't understand. Again, we're just trying to move forward with the very best for your kids and our community. Kevin, did you want to add something about kind of what you're experiencing with a hybrid pros and cons of that? Because it may not be possible to do this in a large sense. We may have to look at it as different but core, or maybe we band. It's not as simple as saying everybody just do this. So I wanted to put that out there to the community because it sounds exciting initially, but it does have some organizational, like operational challenges to it. But I just want you guys out there to know, and your neighbors, that we're trying. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I can, using the hybrid, like working in the hybrid model, obviously at the beginning of the year, just like anybody else, it was a brand new way of teaching. I think for the first time in a while, I felt like a first year teacher. You can tell by the gray in my beard, I'm not a first year teacher, but yeah, it's been very difficult trying to figure that out. I think, luckily we have a pretty good team where we, try to hash out what's been going on. Basically, what we've been doing, I'm sixth grade social studies, by the way. And so what we do is I have my Zoom kids, and I have on Zoom, I have a stand-up desk. I have my mat behind me. I try to use that as much as I can. And then I have my in-person students. And pros, I mean, we get a full class sometimes. Cons about that is that we, if we're trying to do a discussion, it's been very difficult with having in-person students have either they log into Zoom and then we get echoes and we get craziness, or I don't have them log on to Zoom, and then I'm having to play in between and go between in-person and then students on Zoom, and there just seems to be that disconnect. And so you just can't really dive into a lot of stuff sometimes that I feel you should be able to, or you'd want to, especially in social studies. But I will say, I think the students have been really patient with it. And I think the students have been unbelievably, I can't believe how patient they've been. I don't know if I would have been that patient in sixth grade with us trying to figure this whole thing out. But, work has been increasing. I think rigor has been getting better as we've been doing this. But I still think, those challenges of trying to balance those things out, dual divided attention has been a little bit of struggle of who's speaking at once, and then who needs help here, and then who needs help, in class, and who needs help on Zoom has been challenged for one teacher if you have 20 kids on Zoom, combined Zoom and in person. So, but we're making do, and I think, I really do. The kids have been really good about it.
Thank you, Kevin Whitney. If I know we've got bands and we've got another teacher, if you guys at any point want to add in what we were talking about, and you don't have to, certainly, I'm going to give a little pause in there, but we were talking about some of the challenges, some of the things we're doing to overcome the current situation we're in, whether it's the hybrid model, whether it's a pilot. So I'm going to just pause for a second before, if you have anything that you want to talk about, because remember that the folks that are listening to us, they're trusting us to do this job, but they don't really see what's happening. And there may be some virtual people here that are trying to make decisions about things. So we want to give them the truth and what's going on as much as possible, because we get to serve them. So it sounds like, Jessica, you're up, and then we'll, if anyone else wants to chime in, that would be very helpful for the community.
Thank you so much. So for band, we've been 100% hybrid. And I foresee that being something that's a necessity for band, just because of the streamlining of the rehearsal. And we want our at-home kids to feel as much a part of our rehearsals every day as possible. So for us, it's really, really important that they're actually participating the whole time in the rehearsal. By and large, I think it's been pretty successful. The downside is that my kids at home are on mute. So in order to hear the kids at home, we have to actually kind of shut down the rehearsal and then like listen to individuals. So that happens a little less often than I would typically like in a regular band rehearsal. But I am satisfied with the fact that our kids have all been able to participate in rehearsals. We had a Friday after school event last week where the kids actually all got together and played together for the first time. And I was just super, super impressed. The kids at home are doing a fantastic job. And we were able to put together like a little mini concert, which was a wonderful, wonderful moment for all of us. So, the hybrid, it's not the most ideal situation, but in the current state that we're in, I believe that it is functioning in the way that we need it to function.
Thank you, Jessica. And that's what I mean about, these pilot things that we're trying may be appropriate for some places and not others, depending on it, because, there's so many different types of things and instruction going on, whether it's, instruction on a trumpet or instruction in social studies or science or athletics. So the key thing I'm hoping that y'all take away from this is we're trying everything we can to be better than we were yesterday. That I can promise. So thank you for that. I'm seeing that, so nobody's camera. I don't know, can you interpret that? I don't think that's a word, so good luck with that one. Anyway, I wanted to say we are also partnering with Region 13. I thought a lot about this because we've got the state has an appraisal system called T-Test, which the Leander ISD calls LEADS. It's basically a coaching cycle and appraisal system at the same time. Here at 4 Points, we're really dedicated in growth and development. If we make a mistake, we own it. We're gonna have to learn from it and move on and not make the same mistakes over and over. But we want to be okay with mistakes. That's how you grow. And so with that being said, one of the growth areas I felt we could have is bring in the Region 13 to help us overcome these challenges. So there's been some folks that maybe feel like they're retreating from it. I think right now we need as much support as we can get to help our teachers. So we're partnering with Region 13. I'm really would like to show you more. I'm going to share screen real briefly and I'll come back just to give you a quick look at what we're doing. Oh, that's not what I want. Okay, maybe this is, all right, let me try this again. Okay, I hope you can see that. This is a research focus that we're working on, and we're using a collaborative strategies basically so that we're trying to research what we can do to get kids what they need. We have the campus mission, and we have a focus, and the focus is this research theme, which is to foster students' ability to collaborate in this hybrid model. So a lot of what we're looking at is, oops. Okay, that's a lot of clicking. I don't know if you can catch up with Valencia. I just want to get you the idea that we're trying to wrap around Region 13 to assist us with the current challenge of teaching in a hybrid model, specifically because that's a process more than it is a standard, but that's process affects all standards. So how can we get the most out of somebody else researching for us? So they come in once a week and they work with some teachers in the fall and then some other teachers in the spring, depending if things change, because we don't know what things might change. For example, are we going to go to the pilot model that we're doing for all? We're going to have to be make instructional adjustments constantly on the fly. And what we're dedicated to doing is bringing in knowledgeable others to assist us with instruction. We know how hard it is, and we'll talk about social emotional, but we also need to be talking about instruction because this is important. Every year is important for the development of your kid, and just because COVID is here, we're not dismissing that. So that's about all I want to say in Region 13. I don't know if anyone here is directly involved with that right now, If you are, or if you wish to contribute anything to that conversation, please feel free to join in now. If not, I'll move on. Okay. So our next thing that we wanted to talk about is we did receive a LEAF grant recently from you, actually, you in the community. And we're going to put that in the Friday. You're just going to get the early bird notices. Our community was #1 in the district, correct me if I'm wrong out there, in donations to LEAF. I believe that's what was first place, and we were awarded a $1,000 check to the staff, essentially. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask staff, what's the best way to use this money? And so that was really because of you all, the community. Ms. Pennington, did you want to add something in there?
I just want to say a big thank you to our community, to PTA for pushing it forward. Just a huge thank you. Like, not only is it just nice to be able to say we received $1,000, but that our community fought for us. And then now we get to say, and our teachers get to spend it. And that is so cool. So just thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, so we appreciate the support. And I know we can't come in right now, but we feel it, and we're making sure that everybody knows it. So thank you so much for that. PTA has been super active. They're an arm of you all as well. They helped us with purchases, specifically with Cami, which is a tech tool that teachers, again, I don't even know enough about it to talk about it. If someone knows about Cami, they're welcome to throw in, a quick blurb about it. But basically, it's a tech tool that teachers said they wanted, and it required funding, and PTA, through donations from you all out there, made it possible. And we've been finding that the community keeps backing us in everything we do. Does anyone want to talk a little bit about the tech tool Cami, or any other tech tools that we're using? Because a lot of that comes directly through funding from PTA, which is our community.
Yeah, I can talk to that, because that was something that for our 8th grade social studies, that was a big ask, and we really appreciate that as a social studies department head. That was a big thing. It allows students to edit things like PDFs, write on them, edit them as they need, and it really helps with things like document-based questionnaires, which are more like in-depth readings, in-depth research that we weren't able to do in social studies without that, because it would be more pen and paper type activity if we were all together. When that's gone, that became an impossibility to do that kind of in-depth research, especially things like analyzing graphs and maps. And so social studies, 8th grade specifically, is going to use that really well in order to help them gain their understanding. I think one of the big things, obviously, is tracking those primary, secondary sources, editing of those primary, secondary sources, and also, using them within trying to edit and analyze graphs and maps. So that was a big thing for us, for sure. So thank you so much for that. That was a big ask, and we're definitely appreciative.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move into, that was sort of a little bit of what instructional adjustments are. We're going to move into inclusivity. And what I have, we talked a little bit about the focus of virtual and in-person. So I've kind of covered that with how we're trying to get Region 13 to come help us in the classrooms which are most of them, except for the one pilot, how we can engage people at home. It's extremely difficult, because it would be nice if Zoom had a feature to press a button that could tap you as a parent on the shoulder if you have an at-home child and say, hey, they're not with us right now. It's hard for us to monitor that. We don't know how. It's a struggle. It's not, it's something we're trying to overcome. We have Region 13. That's the biggest thing about doing the hybrid model, is yanking from two places to the other. That's about all I wanted to add to that. The other notion is socio-emotional needs. We're seeing a rise in outcries for children who are feeling isolated. And some of them are at school and feeling isolated. Isolation doesn't necessarily mean you're isolated in a room. You can feel that way anytime, and we're experiencing that. So one of the things that we wanted to do. And then we have a culture committee. And Whitney, you can talk a little bit more about that. We had a day that we called a culture day. It was really a socio-emotional day. And it was a day to connect with kids and have fun with them, get to know who we are, and sort of try to embrace our children and address our emotions. So I know there was a recent tragedy in Cedar Park recently, and we want to do everything we can to make sure that nothing like that ever happens in any community, but specifically for our purposes, our community. And so we want to intentionally give kids a chance to have voice. And so we're going to regularly do this in the future. It was also another pilot because this pandemic and the kids not being here is new. So Whitney, could you talk a little bit about what your committee came up with?
Yeah, for sure. And Brittany's on here too. She had a huge part of doing that. So.
All right, Brittany, you're going to have to unmute if you hear me.
But yeah, so C-Day, it was a lot of not just finding out about ourselves personally, which is always very intuitive and, you know, a great thing to do, but also learning how to work with others and, you know, the differences in personalities and whatnot. So we really want to play into that, not just, you know, student-wise, but also teacher-to-student relationships as well. So, you know, it's just something, it was literally the tip of the iceberg where we were at. And we would really like to incorporate this, like Mr. Crawford said, you know, throughout the year. Come next semester, we want to do some more activities and really hone in on, you know, everyone's strengths and learn about ourselves and just how to team build and work with each other. And, you know, we have some exciting things ahead of time, still some more planning, but, you know, I think it'll be a lot of fun. Britt, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Not really, other than to say that we're paying attention and we're trying to be intentional about creating spaces where kids can be together both in and out and have some fun. I mean, learning's supposed to be joyous, number one, but we also need to remember this is super hard. Middle school is hard anyway, and we've got to not turn away, and we need to address who we are as people and emotions and really give kids agency to look themselves and things like that. So that's really all we're trying to do. And her team also put together, we talked about who we are and personality types, and then put together an advertisement. And then we had a string activity where we brought in Greg Glover from the district to do strings to talk about the stories of who we are and really give kids a chance to express themselves and have voice. Because, you know, when you don't have voice, and if you've had, you know, all of us in here have had probably a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old that can't talk, and what happens? You know, so we want to give voice because that's what makes people feel included, welcome, part of the group, like they belong. So we're trying, and we have more to come with that.
Well, and I was also just going to add too, like we did purposely make it where they had a mixed group of personalities, and then later on a group with just their same personalities, so that they could see like, hey, maybe sometimes it is easier to work with people who think other than me or, you know, act differently than me because they bring something different and maybe something better to the table than I had thought of just on my own. And so we wanted them to kind of see the different perspectives of that on that day.
Thank you. And so the next steps in January, we're going to give some planning time to that committee and see if there's more things we can do and incorporate it as a sustainable system. You know, we've tried to refine communication. Now we need to find practices surrounding making sure kids have a voice in what they're doing. So we're going to move on to thank you, Whitney and Brittany and everybody in the room. We're going to move on to safety. Now, a lot of this you're going to hear from Ms. Paint and Ms. Payne, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that they are in everything that we talked about, are involved in everything. We can't do culture day. We can't do anything without these ladies and what they do behind the scenes. A lot of their work is not visible. I just want to make it clear that we're a team and everybody contributes to make this this work. So it's not just the safety police, which it sounds like they're painting right now, but they've been doing an inordinate amount of work. And I think that you're going to really want to hear from them, because safety also is about doing culture days, talking about who you are, emotional safety. They'll talk about maybe some of that, but now they're going to talk about actual protocols like sicknesses and what do we do, what we've experienced, and get in more depth with that. And of course, anyone can add in as they're going along, classroom perspective or something. So from this point, I'll turn on to my other principals, Allison and Kim.
Hi, everybody. So Ms. Payne and I are going to talk a little bit about safety, and I'm going to let her talk a lot about COVID. That is a field that Ms. Payne has worked a lot in on our campus this week. But we did want to let you know that we did have another COVID case. So we've only had 2 confirmed positive cases on our campus this year. One was in September and one was this week. And of the confirmed positive case this week, we did quarantine 48 students and 1 adult. And so I'm going to let Ms. Payne talk more about that, but we did just want to start and be completely open with our community so that you had the facts and that you knew as these cases arise, we go through a rigorous process. So we have to identify the classroom students are in. We work with our nurse, the district, the Austin Health Department, the Travis County Health Department, sometimes the Williamson County Health Department, to make the appropriate calls to help our community and our students. Ms. Payne, do you want to talk more about that?
Sure. I can do a quick kind of flyover of the process as to what ends up happening when we receive a notification of a positive test case. It seems like that is oftentimes the biggest concern of people when they call in, is that we get a positive test result from, it could be email, could be phone, however it might be. And that sets off an order of events that is very well prescribed by our district. The folks there at our district office have it's very cut and dry. We do this, we do this, we do this. And it's a matter of identifying students and which groups they're part of. So one of the first questions will be, does the student ride the bus or are they dropped off? And if they're a bus, we need to find out the route and whether they were on it. And that lets us see one set of students. And then we find out their course schedule, and is it an A day or is it a B day? So then we get rosters and we determine if they're virtual kids or in-person kids. And so for much of the morning this week, we were winnowing a list of many, many, many students and making it small so that we would be able to determine which of the students may have been in contact. And then after we do that, Allison and I visit with each of our teachers face-to-face to let them know, for those teachers who have the student in their class, so that we can let them know that there was a test positive. And then we start making phone calls to parents. And we make phone calls to those parents who, where their student was in direct contact or close contact with the COVID positive. So they call that primary contact as opposed to secondary or tertiary. Some of the concern that was expressed today was about, well, my student was sitting next to someone who was sent home in quarantine. So we would call that a secondary or tertiary. So we notify parents when it's primary. And then we have an on-site team. So I'm part of it. I tend to do the operational pieces of it, but truth be told, I answer to Nurse Kim. She's an expert in this. She's our medical professional on campus, and she makes all the contacts with the appropriate people at a district office and the appropriate health agency. And she gives me my marching orders and I do what she tells me, and she's remarkable. But I'd be happy to take any questions about that. But that's kind of how the process goes, because it is so prescribed with, checklists and whatever else. The process is the same every time, which is good. Sometimes when you practice the same thing and it's always the same, it ends up having a higher level of accuracy. I would also encourage parents that if you're interested in updated information, every Friday at noon, the district office has the Leander ISD COVID dashboard. They update it every Friday at noontime, and it has both running numbers and numbers for that week. It talks about exposures, the number of students, or the number of people who may have had positive test results in both for that week and in aggregate. So if you're interested in that, the information is on the Leander ISD website and updated at noon on Fridays.
Kim, do you want to explain the difference between our first quarantine? I think we sent 10 kids home, and this quarantine we had 48.
That's a great question. So when we are going through and trying to come up with the list of students who may have been exposed, it's a matter of being able to affirmatively rule people out. And so when we have a set of rosters and we say, okay, that perhaps that would be in, say, social studies, we go into that classroom, we take a look at seating charts, we actually take a tape measure into the classroom, and we see the distance between north and south, east and west, and on the diagonal, and make sure that we have that 6 feet. And so that would be one thing. The other way that we look is at lunchtime. At the end of each one of the tables, there is a QR code where the students either use their cell phone or they use the link on their computer, and they let me know through that. It's a Google form. It lets me know what table and what seat number at that table. And so if I know if I had an exposure on, say, November the 4th, then I can go to that data and I can run a total and say, okay, this kid sat at table 12 at seat 3, and then I know the potential kids that would be within that 6 feet radius of that student. So it's a matter of being able to narrow the list as tightly as possible. The challenge in this particular one is that we had an exposure in a PE class, which is one of our largest in-person classes on campus. And so that's why we had the difference in numbers from 10-ish to 48.
Thank you. So Ms. Payne touched a little bit on lunches. We did start a new process. We have tried several things this year in the lunchroom, really just trying to make sure that we can keep as many kids on campus if that COVID case pops up. First, we started with, when our numbers were a lot lower with in-person students, we were able to do seating by teacher. So students had to sit at the table of the class they were in when they went to lunch. You know, the pushback on that from students and parents and from us as administrators and teachers was this, you know, how are we supporting their social interaction? How are we really making sure that they're getting as close to a normal lunch as possible? So then we did seating charts where they were able to sit for 3 to 6 weeks at the same table with their friends and have lunch together, and we had a seating chart. What we noticed with that was that students weren't staying in their seat, much like the classroom. They were moving around. They weren't where they were supposed to be, and that created challenges and fears that we would have to quarantine an entire lunch if a COVID case had popped up. And so from there, what we decided to do is we talked with some other campuses. They were using QR codes, and we moved. Ms. Payne was amazing and made that we moved to the QR process. So every table, like she said, all around the lunchroom, we've moved desks into the lunchroom to equal extra seating. We are allowing them to sit outside, but we put up QR codes so that we know who students are sitting with and who they're around and what table they are at during lunch.
And
oh, go ahead.
And breakfast too.
Yes, and breakfast as well, which, by the way, if you did not know, breakfast and lunch are free to all students. So if you're like me some mornings and you're rushing out the door and you need to just get them out the door and get to school, you can just give them a free lunch and breakfast. Also, for morning processes,
just make sure they know, because I found this out. My wife told me this morning, and I was like, say what? Say what? All means all? Okay. I don't know how many people know that, and I mean, miscommunication. I just want to emphasize that because I was shocked. I was like, that sometimes you have to qualify for certain things, and certainly there's appropriateness for that. But right now, Allison, are you saying that I can send my child to Kim and I can get lunch and breakfast?
I'll do you one better, Mr. Crawford. I'm saying that as long as you live in Leander ISD, even if your kid is in private school, even if they're in online homeschool, they can come get a free meal at our school. We will feed them. So it's pretty awesome. As far as morning processes, Ms. Payne, if you ever ride the bus in the morning, or if you drop your child off for athletics on the side of the building by the cafe, you see Ms. Payne out there in a big T sign that has the QR code for students to fill out their health screener, and she's checking kids in. But every entrance where kids come in, we're doing health screening. So we're doing the temperature checks, we're making sure that they're being checked off the list. We can double check and make sure they took their screener. Once that is done, we have an amazing teacher on campus, Ms. Lancaster. She does all of our RTI 504 testing coordination, and she goes through the list and double checks it with every student who has filled out their health screener for the day. And then we go and we make sure that the students who haven't filled it out get it done. Mr. Crawford, did you want to add?
Thank you. I wanted to clarify something. There was some, I don't know, confusion maybe is the best word about temperature checks. It is not an I just want to be clear, it's not an expectation of Leander ISD to do temperature checks for various reasons and good reasons. The minimum expectation is to make sure that we're having kids do their screener and then double checking the screener and cross-referencing it, which we do, and keep a long trail and record and history of that to make sure we're doing our very best. We decided as a campus, with our size being it is, with our capacity, that currently we could add an additional safety measure. It may be perceptual in terms of, because people are like, well, they can be asymptomatic. How's that doing anything? That's a fair argument. But our take was, if it makes people feel better about sending their kids to school, and if we catch just one kid who's sick for whatever reason, then it's worth it because we were able to do it. And we're not about 100% every kid, but we try to get every child in the morning. It's a little hard at buses. I know on Kim and Allison, we had a long talk, but we decided that if we can make you feel better and reduce the odds, even a little bit, is it something to do? So this is not something any other school is doing. I don't know what to say other than that, other than we will stop doing it if we're told to, but I was told that we could do that, maybe put some strain on other schools. We are smaller, so you in the community are benefiting from a smaller school, and I think that in itself is reducing risk for kids coming to school and enabling us to reduce risk by adding additional layers of security, even though we know that maybe it doesn't catch all. So I just want to clarify that is another thing we're doing, because ultimately our first commitment is to you. We work for you. We understand that. And we want to do everything we can, whether it's a pilot, whether it's thermometers, to do our very best for you. And then we, talk to district, and I did reference to district on that issue as well. But that is just a 4-point special. There you go. Thank you, Allison.
Yeah, Kim, I don't know if you have anything else to add for safety, but I do want to honor everyone's time. And as we're pushing closer to the end time, maybe move to questions and answers as they have them.
I would agree. Let's go to questions so that we make sure we get all that covered.
All right, if anybody has questions for us, we're happy to answer them. You can put them in the question and answer chat area. I'm not sure if you have the ability to ask them through your voice, but we would love to hear you if you can.
I can probably, because of that, I didn't know how many folks we'd have. I can, if you raise your hand, if you know how to do that, I can actually allow you to talk with this feature, which is, I'm still learning how to do this. So thank you for that, Grace. I can do that too if you have a Q&A. And ask anything. And we've got a range of experiences. One thing that, Allison and Kim recognize is Kim has a history of working in disaster management before this role. So that's why she's the operational part of it. She answers to Kim, but she's also the operational part of that, as well as Allison to some degree, but we try to utilize each other's strengths. So she has also a unique understanding, and all of us have that. So fire away some questions if you have them. If not, then we will conclude. And if you have a specific question that you don't want to ask here for whatever reason, email us. So I'll give you a couple minutes to either raise your hand so I can allow you to talk, or you can submit the Q&A. I see one pop up now. Thank you. That was just nice comment. Thank you. We're trying, y'all. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you other than we appreciate you out there. It must be extremely difficult to be a parent of a middle schooler and trying to figure out how to navigate these waters, and that everyone's all over the place with what they believe and think. And so it's a challenging time, but all I can tell you is we're going to try to do better than we did yesterday. And that's just our motto. And that's our belief. So let's see. I think that's all we have. Thank you. You're welcome. Is there, I want to also just take a moment to thank our interpreter, who's doing a great job, even though I threw her off screen for a little bit. I want to thank both interpreters, both Valencia and Isabel. Thank y'all for interpreting. Appreciate that. Want to thank all of you on staff for being here as well to support the kids of this community. And thank you, parents, for being a part of this. And we appreciate you. And again, sorry about the beginning link. That was on me. I clicked something wrong. I'll take full responsibility of that. We'll be better on that next time. So good night, everybody. Oh, wait, there's another question. Did I miss it? Oh, never mind. I didn't miss it. See you later. Bye.